back to the program, Gerald Meerchaert. Gerald, how are you?
I'm great. How you guys doing?
Not too bad. Things, another day, and then another week in a UFC. Let's talk about it. Pretty quick turnaround. I mean, it seems like you just got out of the octagon. I think it was the beginning of April. Did you take any time off at all?
A little bit of time. I moved the family down to South Florida to kind of live where I'm training at in Killcliff. So the downtime there, still hustling around, moving. But, I like to be active. I like to stay in the cage. Fighting is my life, so here I am.
I'm going to ask you the same thing I asked Chris Dawkins when he said that he went down in weight, and he said because of the size of Derek Lewis. With the move to Florida, we're based in Florida, national show out of Tampa, St. Pete. What took you so long coming to the great state of Florida?
Well, I had a lot of family and a lot of good gyms, great gyms up in Wisconsin, and it just happened to be one of those things where all the guys my size kind of either retired or moved on to other things, and I came down to Killcliff for the first time last year. I forget when it was, but I've been doing it for a little bit now, and I just thought now was the right time. I wish I would have done it sooner, but better late than never.
Absolutely. Welcome to the great state of Florida.
Yeah, so Gerald, Gerald, I'm on your Instagram page, and I'm looking up. It looks like a lot of food photos. It looks like a lot of rattlesnake. Talk about the diet, man, like a beef rattlesnake diet. Is that what you're on?
And I definitely eat a lot of red meat. So Rattlesnake is a company that sponsors me, and I can't say enough good things about them. If anybody is looking to get their beef supplied from somewhere, you're going to want quality ingredients and no funny stuff putting in the cattle. They ranch raise all the cattle in the USA, in Kansas. They process, package, and do everything themselves. It's not just a label. It's actually a U.S.-based, U.S.-made company. They just do it the old-fashioned way. They're out there with the cows every day. They post it all the time, so you can see it on their Instagram. And they treat me very well, and I love their product. It keeps me healthy, and it helps feed my family.
Since Matt brought up about food, I'm curious. A lot of times fighters tell me the week of a fight, obviously, the weight cut, and you're going through all that, but you watch the Food Network. You watch all those food channels. Are you one of those guys?
I am one of those guys, but I also do it when I'm not cutting weight, too. I actually love I'm not a great cook, but I do love cooking, and I love more like the method behind why you do everything you do to, get the final product, kind of like the science behind it almost. So that really interests me.
Very cool. We watch all those shows as well. I pretend like I know what I'm doing, and of course, I don't, and start fires in our kitchen. I'm curious, when you get the phone call, hey, are you available? We're looking at this date. What do the team looks for? What are you looking for? Is it the opponent? Is it the date? What is the first thing that matters when you're trying to get matched up?
At this point, being in the UFC, anybody you fight's going to be tough. There's not really a reason for me to ever say no right now, especially I don't have a ranking. I'm not close to a title shot, and I just love to fight. So as long as I'm healthy, and I can make weight, and I know I can show up and perform, I'm going to say yes.
I know Matt has something, but let me just jump off of that, and it's in another organization, and it doesn't really matter. It drives me crazy when fans, not alone other fighters, say a fighter is scared to fight somebody. Give me your thoughts on that. I hate that.
Yeah, there are definitely situational things where, knee-jerk reaction for a lot of fans if someone backs out of something that said, oh, they're scared. As a fighter myself, I can tell you there's 101 different reasons they could have a very legitimate case to not want to fight, especially if you're in the UFC, no matter, where you are on the ranking. Every fight is the most important fight of your career. And if you take a fight when you're not healthy enough to perform, that could be one wrong turn can, change the whole outcome of your entire life, basically. So there's a lot that goes into it, and, a lot of things that you think might not be a very threatening injury or circumstance can actually affect the fight a lot. So I tend to give a little more leeway. Have there been times when I think, maybe another guy is scared? Maybe, but that's, probably a bias because they're supposed to hit one of my teammates or something.
So Joe, okay, so I got hung up on the meat and like the delicious photos
Yeah,
of
I'm
the
hungry. I'm
rattlesnake
going to get some food.
company. I just didn't go
Yeah.
far enough down your Instagram page, man. I made a mistake, so I'm going to start over. So here's my first question of the day. So Randy, when Randy and I go to UFC events or anything where there's celebrities, he always makes me stand on the end of photos because if we ever break up, it's like a boyfriend or girlfriend. He could just crop me out, and I was never there.
All right, let me just jump in and he can finish. It's not when. It's not if, it's when. We know it's going to happen. He's been fired 3 times on this show and he refuses to leave.
It's true. But there's a picture with you and Theo Vaughn, the comedian, and in the description you said that there's somebody else that was in the photo, but they're not pictured. So my curiosity is, who was not pictured in the photo?
Oh, there was another fighter I was sharing the locker room with, and I said on there, I didn't do that intentionally. It was like somebody, whoever sent me the photo, cropped him out prior to it, right? So there was 2 of us in that photo. I wasn't trying to snub anybody or anything like that. But there was another guy in the locker room that was like a couple fights before me that was in there.
How cool is Theo, though? I mean, how cool is that to hang out with Theo? Is he just as like cool in real life as he is on like Instagram and all the social?
No, he was a really, really cool guy. Seemed really down to earth. It was a very brief interaction, but he was really nice. And like the way he talked to me, it wasn't like someone who's like, "Oh, I've seen you on TV before," and like, "Oh yeah, you're great, whatever, blah blah blah." Like the way he talked to me is like he's actually watched. You could tell he's actually watched my fight, and he's very into the sport in general. Like he thought about his responses, like in our brief interaction, and like really gave it thought and was like, no, I'm going to consider like what I've seen of you over the years or whatever it was. He gave me a really nice compliment, and it was like, oh, you actually really follow the sport. So that was very, very cool. It was really cool to meet him.
So if you've seen his videos stand up where he talks about Tampa, how like the zoning in Tampa is so crazy that you can have a strip club next to like a place to get dental, next to a place that sells patties out the back. It's like just like the zoning here is so crazy. Like one building will have all these different businesses. So what's the craziest thing you've seen since moving to Florida full time that you didn't expect to see?
Honestly, and like as you're describing that, I'm like, yeah, that just sounds like Florida because that's pretty much. I've been coming down here for camps. Well, coming down there for camps for about a year now, so I'm kind of used to the whole thing. But it's definitely. My wife had only been once very briefly, and she's only ever lived in the Midwest and isn't very well traveled. So it was a really huge culture shock for her, and it was very fun for me to watch from the outside, especially because as you guys know, there's a lot of people that move down, especially to southern Florida where I am, from the upper East Coast, and they bring with them a lot of good, like deli food and Italian food especially, and she thought Olive Garden was like good Italian food, so to see her try actual Italian food has been really fun to watch.
We're watching TV for 30, 40 years, my wife and I, and whether it's Maury, whether it's Jerry Springer, whether it's any of them, it's like Bob and Lisa from Zephyr Hills, Florida, Mary and Julie from Cape Coral. They're always from Florida, always.
Yeah, no, if you see a white person with like a really bad tan, then they're probably from Florida if they're on one of those shows.
And I'll say it. You don't have to. I'll say it in no teeth. We're missing teeth. They're from Florida for sure.
And Gerald, just to roll out the red carpet for you, to welcome you to the state of Florida, I own a pizzeria. I learned how to cook in Brooklyn. So if your wife and you want to come from some authentic real pizza and you're in Tampa Bay, hit up Randy, let me know, and we'll roll out the red carpet for you guys.
Oh, hell yeah. I'll drive to Tampa just for that, man. Are you kidding me?
Well, no, we'll go much above that. The pizzeria, we have 3 fishing captains if you want to go fishing. My son's father-in-law is the head fishing captain at Walt Disney World. Kelly Anderson's at the restaurant right now. He can take you deep sea fishing, bow fishing. I mean, we'll hook you up with a really good time for sure.
Oh, hell yeah, man. I really appreciate that.
No problem. Before I get yelled at by the UFC, let me at least ask you this. Give me your thoughts on Andre.
He's a good opponent. I think his confidence grows because he's been on like a couple fight win streak. He is probably one of the better grapplers I've faced in a while. That being said, he wants to keep talking about how he's like the best grappler of the division and this and that. And he's a young up and comer. He's only got 1 or 2 losses maybe, but I'm hungry right now. I feel great mentally, physically, and I'm not trying to have a grappling match. I want to fight him. So anywhere the fight goes, I'm going to hit him. I'm going to hit him with hands, elbows, knees, shins, whatever I can. I'm going to make it a dog fight. I'm going to use all my veteran tricks, and I think I'm going to get the win decisively this Saturday.
I'm just curious, and Andre was on the show when he was on The Ultimate Fighter, but he does know that you have, I don't know, like a few or many submission victories, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's doing that intentionally to, like, try to piss me off or something, because he's like, that was a point he keeps, like, poking at, and I have the record for our division by, like, double what anyone else has pretty much. So, yeah, I don't know.
What's the biggest change in the sport, from your first fight, which I think was just over 50 professional fights ago, to your last one? Obviously, your next one is this weekend. What is the biggest change?
I would say the biggest change, like in the sport itself, that I've noticed is a lot more guys. It's becoming much more like true mixed martial arts. There's no one, even guys that come in as straight wrestlers, they're blending everything. Like, even I'm not super old, but I've been around for a little while. Even when I started, there were guys that, like, you knew if they were a wrestler or a boxer, and you could tell by the way they fight. Now you can't tell what anyone's background is, and even guys that weren't collegiate wrestlers have really good wrestling in the cage, and even guys that weren't, jiu-jitsu world champions are submitting black belts. So it's evolved a lot.
Saturday, UFC 292, and I always ask you guys, and I probably asked you this last time you were on, it's a work week. It's all about, the ultimate goal to have fun on Saturday, obviously. But will you get out? It's Boston. It's kind of a really cool town. Will you get out and experience any of it, or is it 100% focus on Saturday?
Oh, no, man, I'm going to go have fun. Fight week's supposed to be fun time. I don't know. Some guys get their blinders on and they get all serious and angry all week. I can't do that. There's like a museum, anthropology and natural history museum that's like right across the street. There's a park across the street I'm going to check out. I'm going to try and hit up as many spots as I can, within the time frame I have.
Love Boston. It's very near and dear. I was stationed there. I met my wife there. Absolutely love it. It's killing me that I'm not there. Gerald, thank you very much for your time. Have fun this week. Have fun on Saturday. After the show, I'll text you my number so you have it, and let's get you and your wife up here. It's very rare to say up because normally everybody's above Tampa.
Right.
To get you up here to Tampa and show you a really good time.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys.
Take care. I know we have your address. We're going to send you a care package from 8 Man Strong, as well as one from Bucked Up Energy Drink. Thanks, Gerald.
Oh, thank you very much.
Take care of that. It's Gerald Meerchaert back in the octagon. And, the guy's only 35-16. He has like 52 fights.
Oh, so he's new to this.
And for Andre to kind of like, poke the bear kind of thing, it's kind of interesting. All right, let's go hit the bottom of the hour break as the shenanigans continues. This is Knockout Radio, brought to you by 8 Man Strong, Staff Zone, and Bucked Up Energy Drink.